It's my song! Let's sing it! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Come on! It's gonna be fucking awesome! You know the words! It's gonna be fucking awesome! That's it! Sing! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Yeah!
Hey, it is I, Jesse Blaze Snider, the Coolest Geek Alive. How you doing? I've been recording outside because it's nice out here. Occasionally I get a plane or I get some chimes and stuff, and I apologize. So I hear one coming in right now. But it's just really nice out, and been enjoying the weather, so I hope you don't mind a little bit of background noise or whatever as we talk about the Joker and Penguin and expectations. Because I think this is really it's just something so important for everybody to understand. I think people do understand expectations to some degree, but maybe it hasn't exactly dawned on people. I learned a very long time ago, at a young age, I became a bit of a film snob because I'd seen thousands of movies. And I would go to see things, and I remember I would come into the movies, and at a certain point, I seem to remember people telling me that, I hated everything. And I was like, I don't hate everything. He's like, you always got things to say. I'm like, oh, well, I'm just kind of analyzing it. And then I realized that one of the biggest parts, besides going in as a little critical or whatever, was also my expectations of various things. And with comic book movies or something like that, my expectations were fully loaded because I was a reader. I actually had an idea about this stuff going in, what I hoped to see, what I expected to see. And, that was over and over again something that was a big disappointment. I realized right before I started to do the show that I was looking at my He-Man, and I was realizing that perhaps my first big geek culture disappointment was the Masters of the Universe movie that they made with Dolph Lundgren. I was so ready to love that movie. I was such a big fan of the Masters of the Universe, and none of the characters really look like themselves. And they brought him to New York, I think. They brought him to the real world. And the coolest part about He-Man wasn't He-Man. It was this world that he lived in and all these crazy monster races and evil that kind of lurked around every corner, and magic and technology. It was that was really the cool thing about Masters of the Universe. So it was just such a disappointment. You just all of a sudden had this kind of Conan guy show up or whatever, but it didn't really have any of the earmarks of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe that really make it sing for fans. So my expectation forgive me, as a fan of the source material, was such that when I saw what they made, I was just devastated, And I think that is really a huge thing across the board all the time. And I mean, really, first to just say something about expectations, I wrote a song about this a long time ago, which I remember was it's all about your expectations, contemplations, what you think before you go, where you've been, or what you think before you know, where you've been before you go. I forget all the lyrics, but it was so always keep your expectations low. And it really is true. When I had that experience, it was around the time too where I was writing a shitload of reviews, critiques, reviews of films for my college newspaper in particular. I did an 8-page pullout every week at my college. I was the A&E editor, and I wrote half the magazine, and I would try to cover every movie, even if we didn't do full reviews of them, just cause, for the college goers, so people could open up our A&E thing and just see what movies were out and see what we thought about it, what the college student thought. I was writing a lot of reviews, and I was getting critical. and being critical when you go into the thing really does fuck you up. Me and my girl, we really like going into movies sometimes without watching the trailer, and like she'll go or I'll go, I don't want to see it, and I'll go, oh okay, yeah, you just down? Like, and she's like, yeah, all right, we'll just go see it. And I do the same thing. I'll just be like, nah, you know what? Don't so much the trailer. We'll just go. You say it's cool. It's cool. Hold on. As my buddy Michael's in, who's going to be helping out my band Dilf USA with our new music video for a song called "We Gave an Alligator Mushrooms." It's awesome. It's world changing. It's a vegan anthem. It's a world peace anthem. I'm really proud of it. I'm excited about it. I'm excited for you guys to see the animation stuff. He's going to be editing all the animation and all the live action. It's cool. It's exciting. Skip trips to the grocery store with HelloFresh and get farm-fresh, pre-portioned seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. HelloFresh makes home cooking fun, easy, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Whip up tasty restaurant-style meals in your own kitchen without the high price tag of takeout and in less time than it takes to get delivery. HelloFresh has tons of options for whatever you're craving. Choose from a changing menu of over 50 recipes each week. Plus, take your pick from over 100 market add-on items like desserts, breakfast, and snacks. Dude, I don't have to do anything. It's just there, at my doorstep. Pre-portioned for two, directions that both my girl and I can follow, and all sorts of great things to try. I'm actually starting to branch out and cook my own creative meals sometimes. I'm quite proud. Thank you, HelloFresh. Get 10 free meals at HelloFresh.com/freecga. Applied across 7 boxes. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's 10 free HelloFresh meals just by going to HelloFresh.com/freecga. Coolest Geek Alive. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. All right, so where was I? So, yeah, not seeing the trailer for the movie, you go in really cold. And I know you've done that so many times before. I've heard so many people talk about like watching some movie, catching some movie late at night on free cable at a hotel or something like that, and there just happens to be something on, and you get into it. Maybe you miss the first 5 minutes or whatever, but it's like just started, and you're like, oh, this is kind of interesting, and and you'll love some movie that other people don't really like that much or whatever because they saw the trailer, and the trailer gave away the entire plot, everything was going on. You didn't know nothing about it. You just put it on. You were like, oh, this is amazing. So expectations is a real thing. It's really important. Expectations, interestingly, has sort of plagued me my entire life. As the son of Dee Snider, what does that mean, to be the son of a celebrity? A lot of people think it means I'm going to be spoiled, or I'm going to be self-absorbed, or too good for people, or I'm going to be some sort of fucking, I don't know, debutante. Somebody who cares about like socializing or whatever. Like for me, I need deep conversation, and it's one of the reasons why I'm a geek, because it lets you like get into conversation that is like deeper with people. It's not necessarily like really deep to the soul, but at least usually you're speaking about stories that speak to the soul on whatever level, or playing a role-playing game or whatever it might be. So all these things tie together to make a really like a landmine for production companies, Warner Brothers and Disney, as they make a Star Wars film, as they make a Marvel film, and with each Marvel film, each name She-Hulk and Hulk and Captain America, it's got its own expectations. Star Wars is like, say, a little simpler. Or Batman or whatever it might be. There is a fan expectation. Generally speaking, the fans have never been really fond of the Batman movies in general. The Dark Knight is the main exception to that rule. And if you talk to big fans of Batman, they'll usually tell you that, I love that movie, it's great, and they really brought it to life or whatever. But there are so many stories that movie sort of like takes off the table that just like aren't possible, because Batman lives in a slightly more fantastic world than that. And we've never really gotten that Batman. There's another aspect of it, is his love interest. I remember my mom telling me that Batman's the least interesting part of his movies. And I said, you're absolutely right, because they've never really done Batman justice. And they always end up depicting him as sort of, I don't know, to a certain degree, driven by his love interests, driven by his dick. And that is really not Batman at all. Batman is this one-man war on crime. And that you get in the comics big time. I mean, so many stories. I mean, the amount of stories that are like major Batman stories that I've read that have a major love interest angle to them. I mean, I think I can count them on one hand. Most of the classics are just something really meaningful. Like one of the great Denny O'Neil stories, Batman Venom, where Batman ends up getting addicted to the steroid venom that Bane uses, and he ends up locking himself in the fucking Batcave, and so he can withdraw. It's just amazing. There's no love interest bullshit in that fucking story. And in the majority of the big Batman stories, there's no love interest story in The Dark Knight Returns. It's like this shit is just stupid. He's the one-man war on crime. You're missing the point. So there are some things that they got right, and generally speaking, other people have a superficial knowledge of Batman, so they don't care. And, if you get enough things right, like, the portrayal of the Joker looks legit and Jack Nicholson does a great job, and there it is, at least it's Batman on the big screen, people kind of go, all right, well, we forgive. But then by the time you get to, Batman 4, and we're just like, this is just fucking, we did the full lame, making the thing that we love stupid. There's so many great stories. There's so much great stuff that's been done with Batman, and this is your version of Batman. Like, kiss our fucking ass. That expectation of, maybe it'll keep getting better in some way or another, just kind of went away. And, you had the thing with the Tim Burton Batman where we were all sort of, okay, Tim Burton wasn't really like doing anything for fans, but it was interesting what he was doing. And, it was certainly, legitimizing Batman, bringing Batman to the forefront. When you get to Batman Forever, it was like a lot of fun, and it was a little bit less like drab, so it was like sort of a welcomed change. Again, expectations. You just came off the Tim Burton one, so you're like, okay, this is kind of nice, this is fun and funny, but they're not really getting Two-Face right, and like, this whatever. Okay, and then you get to fucking Mr. Freeze and whatever, especially after you've had the animated series do Mr. Freeze, and he was so well done and cool and dark, and continuing to have the animated series do the dark thing really well, not like the Batman movies that are a little bit uncomfortable, in one way or another. But like, there's a great balance to what Batman could be on the big screen. That is awesome, man. And they still haven't exactly gotten it there. And the fans have, expectation-wise, based on the fact that we were never really getting anything close to the comics. You saw what happened to the first Superman movies, got maybe a little bit of Superman's origin and whatnot, and then it goes off the rails, Superman 2, 3, 4. None of that shit is based on anything from the comic books. For Marvel had a great run, and there was a run of films that sort of began to sort of pay homage. Lord of the Rings was the one that really sort of opened the door, and Marvel doing it authentically for the phase 1, 2, 3, 4, I guess. Captain Marvel was the first one that really jumped the rails and began to fuck up the goodwill that they had with the fans for. Generally acknowledging and trying to sort of, in general, follow the Marvel Universe to some degree, and in a way where doors continue to be open for it to continue to look somewhat like the thing we liked, whilst being a quality program and hitting, some of the beats of relationships that we liked from the comics and and things that we had already come to appreciate. And in doing that, satisfying the expectation with humor and good execution. Just really just solid execution. Not even spectacular in a lot of cases, but solid. Those Ant-Man movies, they didn't have Edgar Wright, but Edgar Wright gave him a good framework. Those first two Ant-Man movies are fucking great. Third one sucks, but the first two are great. And the third one really sucks more because the first two were great. They were solid, but had really foundationally good ideas. Similarly, with like the good ideas of the Captain American Iron Man, the roots of some of the things were good. So the films were good. It kept within the realm of the comic book stories that readers had grown up with. One of the first big things that changed that really fucked up, I think, the reader experience over at Marvel was the blip, which was something that didn't happen in the comics. So everything that had to happen because the blip happened just made every story less a adaptation of the thing we loved and more them doing their own riff, them doing whatever they want now. And that was something that for fans like me really just meh, And, and at this point, there's plenty of shows that I don't watch. If I hear that something, I'm not going to like it, like I don't watch Agatha. Especially because and granted, my expectations are so low. At the same time, I don't like being aggravated by things. I like these things. I want them to succeed, And I saw Furiosa. Furiosa was a bit of a thing of like the general audience feeling like they had sniffed out another DEI initiative, which they did. However, it happened to be very good. But that didn't matter because the general just glance at it was like, oh, it's like another one of these things that they're trying to stuff down our throats about girl power or whatever. Furiosa was more interesting than that. But the expectation is everything. And now you get into something like the Joker and the Penguin, which is just so interesting. Joker 2 and Penguin. Joker 2 is coming off of Joker 1, which was this out-of-this-world success. The critics were sort of chastising the audience for loving it as much as they did. It ended up being like the what is it, the film for the incels. The Penguin is coming out of a small appearance of Colin Farrell's Penguin and the debut of Gotham City in the Batman Year One movie, essentially, which is The Batman with Robert Pattinson, which was a bit closer to like a Batman type fucking movie, except it was boring, I thought. And like, there's no reason for it to be boring. A Batman movie can be, not put me to sleep. The movie was long. It's just always like, there's no like fun to it. I fought against the boom, bow, pam, zow thing, when I was a kid. But at the same time, it's like you don't say boom, pow, bang, zow. But action and excitement, that's the thing. So if you make a Batman movie and it's not like fucking exciting, that's a problem. And visually, the Riddler, I don't know what the fuck he looked like. I don't know. That movie just didn't excite me at all. Anyway, what was my expectation for the Penguin? Well, Colin Farrell was good as the Penguin. And I was looking for, as a fan of comics especially, something smaller done in the comics world. I was looking more for like a superhero kind of thing. A street level hero. I was hoping the Shang-Chi movie would be that. I was fucking very disappointed. And again, Shang-Chi, why was I so disappointed? Because in the comics, that movie version of Shang-Chi, I have never read a fucking Shang-Chi comic that was anything like that shit. Nothing like it. And I've read Shang-Chi comics I like a lot. And they could have done something really cool on the big screen. Because Kung Fu comic books, it's like, they can make them compelling and stuff, but at the end of the day, it's like, it's just, similar moves sometimes and stuff. But in a film, Man, I was hoping that would have been like the cool Bruce Lee equivalent. And instead we got like Magic Dragon shit. That wasn't what I wanted as a fan. I don't think that was what any Shang-Chi fan wanted. I think the people that saw the movie were other people. And, you know, some of us who were like, maybe, I hated that movie. I was so disappointed. And, like, he left his sister behind. That shit pissed me off. My kids like to laugh at me because I yelled at my sons. I didn't yell at them. They felt like I was yelling at them. We came out of the movie, and I just turned to them, and I just went, that was so messed up what Shang-Chi did to his sister in that movie. And they were like, what do you mean? And I said, he left his sister behind. And he didn't, like, go back until years later when, like, some shit happened. And then finally he goes back to, like, check on her. Everything okay with you? Like, that is so fucked up. He escaped his father because he felt there was a dangerous situation and he needed to get out of it. And he left his little sister behind. Never leave your sister behind. Like, you know, whatever. But, you know, I had some passion in my words when I said it. So to this day, they were like, remember when we left Shang-Chi and you yelled at Cassidy and Grayson about not leaving their sisters behind? It was funny. I'm like laughing because they laugh so much when they talk about it. I'm slightly embarrassed. But I'm not, because I was like, fuck that movie. I didn't like that movie. And again, I was disappointed because I like heroes, and that was not very heroic. My expectations were damaged. There's a great story that I think about right now about Spider-Man 3. And remember what I said about deciding to sort of throw my knowledge of the comics and the books and things, my knowledge of film and stuff out the window at a certain point because I didn't want to be like hypercritical of movies. So I would just really watch them innocently. Well, shortly after watching my innocent watching, I remember watching Spider-Man 3, and I remember watching it, and I was just sort of like mesmerized. I hated Venom, but I was fascinated by the movie because I couldn't guess where it was going. I was just like, what the fuck is happening right now? Like, it was so interesting to me as a exercise in, like, you know, I wasn't expecting anything, and it was doing things, and I was like, where is this going? Interesting. And generally speaking, I like had made it like a rule of like, if I'm surprised, then I'm happy. Because like I'm an idiot going into the movies because I just want to enjoy it. So idiot Jesse walks in and let's see if I like it. And I remember leaving Spider-Man 3 and really enjoying it because I was so surprised. I found it all so surprising. And then I remember like watching like my first like review of it where somebody was tearing it apart. And I just started going, huh, yeah, 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 oh, yeah, you know, because I did get myself to this really innocent point, and like in innocence, you can't kind of just like enjoy anything if it's just like moving your adrenaline around and stuff, but there's better, you know, there's better films out there. There's better writing out there. There's better comics out there. There's so much better work to be had. And I want to live in a world where this better work is being made into films and television. So, you know, don't fault me there for that. So anyway, you got the Penguin, which is coming off of this low expectation thing. And you've got Joker 2, which is coming off this high expectation thing. So just right there, what do you think's going to happen? In general, a successful first movie, the sequel is not better. When fans heard things about Joker 2, like there's a fucking musical going on, and it's going to be, you know, Lady Gaga's being brought in to be Harley Quinn, as opposed to somebody who's like known for their comedy or something like that. So we're going to have like this dramatic Harley Quinn, which, again, fan expectation here. But like, okay, could it be this Elseworld thing? But now it's going to be a musical. Okay. So that musical announcement put everybody into a wait and see mode. Okay? And this is how it goes with all of like when it comes to announcements. Like Sonic the Hedgehog was so smart because when they put out their thing and everybody saw what he looked like, they went into wait and see mode. And when Sonic came out and they said, "You know what? We hear what you're saying and we're going to make something great." Because Sonic wasn't going to get the greatest fucking reviews of all time. It's just like a family movie. Sonic's running around with the human beings in the human world. You know, I saw the movie with my kids. It's fun. But like, Sonic would not have survived it not looking good and it not being reviewed well. However, by doing the goodwill thing that they did for the fans and going back and evaluating their Sonic design, they brought the fans back to the table. When they delivered a Sonic that the fans liked, fans all went, "All right, goodwill, you threw us a bone, we'll throw you a bone." And they came to the table in droves, and Sonic was a huge success and continues to be a huge success for them, even though it's not fucking Shakespeare that those Sonic films are. And people aren't really expecting Shakespeare. So their expectations, right? But meanwhile, wait and see mode on the musical went to early reviews of a film that is ultimately very much a kind of repudiation of the first film. You got a situation, too, where we have what happened with the Wreck-It Ralph film, which I hated Wreck-It Ralph 2. I'm a huge Wreck-It Ralph fan. It's one of my favorite Disney movies of all time. Love Wreck-It Ralph very much. And Wreck-It Ralph 2, I felt, completely regressed the character back to where he was in Wreck-It Ralph 1 and didn't really bring anything forward at all, and really sort of like you loved Ralph, and the whole film just sort of aggravates you. What he's doing, how he's behaving, everything about it just sort of sours you to the first one to some degree. Didn't you learn your lesson already? What the fuck, man? This is so stupid. Is this seriously how you're behaving? Like, it's very agitating for fans of Wreck-It Ralph. The Joker 2 film, for the critics and the first people who went in, that was what they had to say. This was sort of aggravating for me as a fan of the first film. I felt like they kind of did everything in their power to be like bad Joker. Apparently, there is unseen footage of Harley Quinn, of Lady Gaga killing Arthur Fleck and taking the mantle as the Joker, which might have been more interesting, I guess. But certainly that would have pissed people off beforehand, and they probably wouldn't have went in to see it. I might have went in to see it, actually, maybe, if they had done that. I don't know. I'm not interested in it. I didn't really like the first one. If I heard that the second one was good, I was going to see it. I don't really like musicals in general. I'm a musician, and I'm very, very picky about music. And like most musicals, I find just hit or miss, and I don't really like the over theatricalness of that. It's just for me, that's just not my thing. And talking about everything I'm talking about, I went to great lengths to demystify myself of the story beats of the movie and whatnot so that I could talk about it today. So I do know what I'm talking about, from, various, multiple other, people that I listen to breaking down the film and the plot and all this shit. This expectation of the Joker and a Joker 2 Like, if Joker 2 was the amplification of Joker 1, we'd be cooking. But Joker 2 is a courtroom drama. It's not what the audience was looking for. And remember, the audience was in wait and see because they heard it was a musical. And Lady Gaga, which we have mixed feelings about Lady Gaga. Some of us may have begrudgingly come around to her being a good performer or whatever. I think she's, I don't know. For me, she's got all the signs of being an awful person. I don't prefer her. And she has all the signs of being a Illuminati plant. And I talk about that on my show, Everything They Don't Want You to Know. I've been invited to join the Illuminati multiple times. She just like fucking appears out of nowhere on fucking Rolling Stone cover. I mean, just like all this shit is controlled. And so I don't really like that lady. And I think actually in the world that we're living in, there's a lot more people who are like me, who have an awareness of her connections to Abriva Abramovich, or whatever the fuck her first name is, who's the spirit cooking and some dark shit. And I think that out there in the world too, her connection to that darkness, I think also made people into a wait and see mode. Because it's still, even though there's a person that we don't necessarily care for in it, it's the Joker, and it's Harley Quinn. Maybe they do a really good job. If they do a really good job, then okay, well, we'll check that out. And this really is the case. If we hear that they do a really good job, we'll go check that out. And then the movie will have legs, it'll pick up steam, and blah, 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 blah. But no, what happened for the first wave audience? They hated the movie. They hated the movie. Their expectation, even with lowered expectations that maybe people didn't really like, some reviews aren't really great. They went in, they saw it, and their word of mouth led to record-breaking second weekend and third weekend lulls right now. They have been so low. I think they hit the 80% drop region, which is just like unheard of. There's only a few movies that have ever done like this 80% drop thing. And the budget for the movie, one of the successes of The Joker was it was a low budget, came out, nobody was expecting anything from it, and then talk about expectation. Nobody was expecting anything from it, and then bourgeois. Meanwhile, funny too, The Batman, which didn't quite perform, people were expecting things from it. They're always expecting something from The Batman, and they weren't quite happy with the numbers that it did and stuff. Maybe you should have made it less boring. But meanwhile, The Penguin, which nobody was necessarily expecting anything from, but fans were kind of interested on some level, because some of the best Batman stories I've ever read don't actually have Batman in them. Gotham Central, which is one of my favorite comics series of all time. Batman would occasionally show up. Occasionally. For like a panel. Once or twice, he was in there, I think, for a little bit more than that. But mostly it was about the police officers in Gotham and the various crimes that they were having to investigate, and the things that were going on in fucking Gotham that were shady as fuck and dark, and these crazy people, and having to go visit Arkham Asylum and ask questions to a crazy person. It was great shit. Officer Hardback was a great character from there, one of the officers in there. I've been waiting for them to adapt him to the films, because they're always looking for more diversity or whatever. And he's a black guy. He's got a great backstory. So many cool little stories about him. He's worth adding into the mythos. I was waiting to see him maybe in the animated series, which maybe I will in the future. But I haven't watched the whole thing, so I haven't really liked it at all. I really don't want to watch any more of it. I don't like watching the things where I'm bummed out. And I try to bring you guys, do listen, go back, Coolest Geek, Coolest Picks and Coolest Classics. I'm recommending great shit, guys, great movies, great TV shows. If you really, if you're looking for something to watch, just go through the podcast list and look for all the places where it says Coolest Pick, except for the one where it says Three Migos, because I haven't edited it. I have to edit that title. I'll add Coolest Pick to it. Coolest Pick or Coolest Classics. Go in and see. There's so many good recommendations. There's so much great shit that you could be watching. Amazing stuff. It's just it's a pity for you to be spending time on any of this nonsense, and I don't want to spend any of my time on the stuff that I don't think is going to be good. But yeah, The Penguin. There was enough from Colin Farrell as an actor. His little performance in The Batman, which was enjoyable. And, and perhaps the highlight of the movie. And the idea of this ground level superhero-ish kind of thing. Fans were interested in that. So we, the critical community who are fans on YouTube, and I'm sure in other podcasters and everybody else, we went and we watched. And what we found was great. The first episode's awesome. And the last episode, which barely has the Penguin in it, was awesome. I think I got like 15, 20 minutes on it with my girl because she fell asleep. But it wasn't because it's bad or anything. There was just like a slight lull, and at a certain point in time, she's got to fall asleep because she's got to wake up in the morning. She's an electrician. She only gets like so much time to work and stuff. So, so much time to sleep, before work. So, no knock on the show. We were both like super into it, super compelled. It was the backstory on one of the Falcone's family, one of the mafia families in from the show, and all these names are names from the comics, but I don't know if any of these are actual characters from the comics or they're making some of these guys up, because some of these people were around in like the year 1, year 2, like during this stuff, like these mafia guys, like they were more like central figures in the early days of like Batman. Not so much early days of Batman stories, but the way they try to frame the Batman world with Batman Year 1, like in the early days, coming up, some of these mafia guys were a little bit more of a factor than they are like in the comics today and like modern day. So like in like, if you read The Long Halloween, which is one of my favorites, the Falcones and the Maronis and like all these other freaking families. But I'm not sure. I don't remember this particular story from the comics, this lady's backstory and like her story with the dad and stuff. But it's great. It's really great. It's a great story. And it's, it's just, again, it's Gotham Underworld as a character in itself, and Penguin. How does a guy like this come to mean something in the underworld of Gotham City? Like this, like the show. It's great. It's compelling stuff. Colin Farrell's awesome. He's so fucking charming, and he makes these faces. It's like, you just kind of love watching the show because of these stupid faces he's making all the time. He's just sort of like, hey. He's constantly making these like gobbledygook kind of faces. It's really funny. I still haven't been able to place it. There's a certain person who he sort of like evokes like that. I think he like looks like, but I keep like sort of like slipping my mind as I say it. I'll be like, oh, it's and then I forget. But the Penguin was, no expectation on it really. It's coming off of this fucking Batman show. And, and the Joker is coming, the Joker 2 is coming off of Joker 1. And, and on top of that, what does Joker 2 do? Joker 2 walks back on Joker 1 in some pretty major ways. And then you got a situation where the Penguin actually takes the Batman thing, which we were a little bit lukewarm on, and it goes into that world and it does some interesting things with it, and it makes us more interested. And now that show's gaining ratings and more people are tuning into it, and it's becoming a big hit for them. It's very interesting, too, the parallels between Tulsa King and the Penguin. I don't know if anybody else who's watched the Penguin has noticed like the parallels. I don't know if the Penguin's like ripped off the Tulsa King to like make an even more compelling version of Tulsa King. It really is. It's like a more compelling version of Tulsa King, kind of. It's just like more grounded and less like silly and stuff. But Tulsa King's fun. I like Tulsa King. Have I done a coolest pick on Tulsa King? I think I might this weekend because I think I'm all caught up on it in the first season and everything. Anyway, so it really is just a tale of expectation, and like expectation done. One expectation right out the gate, not being good for Joker 2, and being good for the Penguin because people were like, no expectation for the Penguin. And then them being savvy on the Penguin and really delivering something that would matter to people whilst they had no expectations. And then Joker 2 having high expectations and delivering something that could potentially piss a lot of people off in a lot of ways. And I think that is just like the only lesson to be learned, guys. You gotta meet expectation with merit. And, and you meet low expectation with merit too. It's all merit. And, and I think Joker 2 with merit could have overcome the expectation very easily. Penguin overcame the low expectation very easily with merit. High expectation is overcome with merit as well. But, in one case, we don't have it. And the audience is tuned out and there's nobody there for it. And we've, historic blunder, blah, blah, blah. And, they're going to lose a lot of money. They've spent a lot of fucking money on that movie with their high expectations of what it would be. And it's not going to come close to reaching those bars. Penguin, I'm sure they didn't really spend very much on it at all now. But of course, let's see what WB does. Do they increase the budget by $200 million for next season and throw Batman all over it? And blah, blah, blah? Let them do this Penguin show. It's great. It's really great. Enjoying the hell of it. That's really all I've got to chat about today. Because I'm really I think I'd be kicking a dead horse to talk about it much more. I think you get the idea of this expectation thing being as important as it is and playing a pretty major factor. The audience who reads books and reads comics, every single time you step up to the plate with any of these franchises, like something like She-Hulk, I talk about this and the audience isn't fucking sexist. We love She-Hulk, and that's not Jennifer Walters. You did a body snatcher thing. She's got a personality. She has a very clearly defined personality in the comics, and we love her. We love her character. It was awful to see her show up and not be herself, to be some other person. And the people you cast and things, it could have been great. She-Hulk's great. Boy, was I disappointed. Oof. Anyway, I hope you're listening to my music show, All Your Favorite Band Sucks, every Monday. I just did a great fucking band, Jimmy's Chicken Shack, brand new band that I'm super into. And then another great punk band, Newfound Glory. And this week I'm doing the Sherman Brothers, who are they've written most of the great Disney songs that you grew up with. They wrote Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. They wrote so many great music from your childhood, probably, possibly, from old movies or whatever else. And the show's great. There's almost 50 bands and artists or whatever that you can find out about if you go dig into old episodes of All Your Favorite Bands Suck. And we're almost 10 episodes, I guess, into Everything They Don't Want You to Know. And Everything They Don't Want You to Know, it's very important with these freaking hurricane after hurricane after hurricane. This week's episode, I talk about weather control. It's a very real thing. You should know about it. If you want to know about weather control, go listen to the latest episode of Everything They Want You to Know, and you tune in this week to listen to me talk about some more universal laws. Anyway, I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for making this a show that helps me feed my family, and I hope my knowledge of this stuff is useful to your brain and your arguments online and conversations with people. Anyway, I love you guys, and I hope you join me again this coming Saturday and again next Wednesday for another fucking awesome episode of the Coolest Geek Alive. Love you. You've been listening to Coolest Geek Alive with me, your host, Jesse Blaze Snider. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more excellent geek culture content. Thanks for listening.
It's my favorite part! Isn't it heavy? I played that! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Coolest alive! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Stay with your tribe! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Revenge of the Geeks! It's gonna be fucking awesome. Week after weeks. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Laughing with you. It's gonna be fucking awesome. And crying sometimes too. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Spelling it out. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Making you shout. be fucking awesome. Talking some shit. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Living legit. My voice gonna be fucking awesome. Food in our mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Get in the mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Tell all your friends. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Call right or text. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Raising the bar. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Straight to the stars. It's gonna be fucking awesome. It's starting soon. Straight to the top of the awesome. Passing the moon. It's gonna be fucking awesome. On with the show. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Ready, set, go. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Fucking awesome. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Just wait. You'll see. You'll all see.
The podcast playground.